Reece James is injured again. What's going on? I can't believe it. It's just ridiculous, isn't it, at this point? Big up to all of you. I hope you're doing very well. It has been about a week. I've basically been off, haven't I don't understand the point of these international breaks. I don't understand why we've had three already. Um, and even without going on international break, Reece James is out injured. Can you believe it? He's got another hamstring problem. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, we've got to defend him or make your decision. Reece in or Reece out. Let's have it in the comments. I'll be very interested to see what you all have to say. Personally, I haven't made a decision yet. I don't really know where I stand on the issue. I think I need to see how serious the injury is and get to know a little bit more. Because if he's only out for a week and then he comes back and plays the rest of the season, I don't think anyone has a problem. But if he's out for another 6 months, then we have an issue on our hands. And that's when things are going to get tasty between Chelsea fans, because you're going to have a group saying, Reece James, we've got to keep him. He's proper Chelsea. He's everything this club embodies. He came through Cobham. He is the man. He's the best on the planet when he's fit, quote unquote, when he's fit, if he's fit. And then you've got this other group that go, no. Real Madrid offered us 50, 60 million right now for Reece James. I would take that. People who say, they want 70, 80. Who's paying that for an injury-prone player? And by the way, guys, the reason I've got so many layers on, the heating is not on in my house. So I'm very cold. I am very cold. And I work outside, so I was wearing the layers when I got in anyway. So I just thought I'd keep them on. But yeah, big up to everyone in the chat. Let's see how we're doing. I am going to come back to the chat. But first of all, let's dive into all of the latest Chelsea news regarding Chelsea at the moment. Just a little something for you guys. The 2025-26 Chelsea third kit will continue to be black. It will feature a design inspired by the iconic Total 90 design. So that's something that Nike are working on with Chelsea. I'm reading one of the replies to that saying, don't give me hope. But yeah, so that'll be interesting to see if anything comes from that. In terms of the Leicester City game, I think we're all curious to see who's actually taking charge. We now know, it was confirmed a couple of days ago, Andy Madley will take charge of Chelsea's Premier League clash versus Leicester City. Can't really say I'm happy with any of the referees, to be honest with you, so I wouldn't celebrate too early, even though it's not Anthony Taylor, so maybe we can take something from that. Chelsea are not interested in Liverpool goalkeeper Cameron Kelleher. They have a big belief in a strong confidence of Robert Sanchez and a strong future with Philip Jorgensen and Mike Penders. I'm going to call bluff on that one in terms of Robert Sanchez. If he's still on our squad for months to come, I think we're going to have some big problems. Henry Kilario has also handed in his resignation at Chelsea. He's now becoming the goalkeeping coach at England. So that's interesting. Is that I think it's is it 18-year affiliation with the club? It's either 18 years or 20-something years. But it's very close to 20 years affiliation with the club. He was our third choice keeper when he was here. And yeah, he's been a good servant to us, but he has very close ties to Thomas Tuchel. So I can understand why he's been looking to go. But there you go. Trevor Chalobah has also commented on his Chelsea loan exit, saying it was hard. With football, challenges have to come. You can't separate challenges and success. All the best to Trevor Chalobah. I hope he continues to thrive in Crystal Palace. Although I think he's been in the game I watched the Wolves game. He scored in that game. He was also the reason that Wolves scored. I don't think that Trevor Chalobah was particularly amazing. I think you saw one good thing and then one bad thing. So, I mean, it's like Robert Sanchez, isn't it, at the back? But it can't be easy when you're playing with a team that aren't as good as what you were playing with at Chelsea. So in terms of Reece James, let's get into what Enzo Maresca has actually been saying. He said he felt something small It was a hamstring. It's a muscle problem. We don't want to take any risks for this weekend. And when asked if it was short term, the answer was yes. So the question is, how short is short term? Is that going to be 12 months? Is that going to be 12 days? What is short term with Reece James? Because that man is always injured. And yeah, I'm not going to lie to you, people. I can understand fans that are losing patience. I would be losing patience, especially if I was in a position like the owners, for example, when you've put so much faith in a player and they're constantly injured. Now, I know that you can't necessarily control your situation. I understand that. I appreciate that. But what I will say is that there has got to be a reason this continues to happen. And some players can be great players, but they're just injured all the time. Like Jack Wilshere is a great example at Arsenal. Every time he come back from injury, he was actually very good. And then he got injured after another 10, 15 games, whatever it was. Went to West Ham. He was good when he played for them, but he didn't play enough because he was injured. So what is the value of a player on £250,000 a week if he's always injured? Not to mention, Maresca's already questioned his leadership qualities, which I think he responded well to, by the way. I'm not saying that Reece James didn't respond. He did. So you're questioning his leadership ability. The guy's never fit. So what does he bring in if it's not his football? If it's not leadership, then I think we're struggling a bit here, guys. Because even if Tossen's not playing, I know that he's a leader off the pitch. That's proven. Maresca said it himself. He's one of the best leaders in the squad. So there's some value right there that you'll never get from Badiashile or Disasi, that you will get from a player like Tosin, even if he doesn't play. So you got your best player, Reece James, when he's fit, but when he's not fit, what is he contributing? That's more of an open question, right? So some of you may think that I'm being a bit rude when I say that, but it's a fair point. It's a very fair point. If you are the best player, if Messi was always injured, how much of a presence would he be in that dressing room? I don't think he would be as good a presence as Ronaldo. But when Messi's fit, I think he's a better player than Ronaldo. So different qualities. I mean, let's not sit here and say that we want Reece James to be on the bench. Of course we don't. But it's very frustrating when he's injured. Quite frankly, I think it's just annoying, very annoying. There you go. When asked about Enzo Maresca's return to Leicester, he said he's excited and thankful to return to Leicester because it was a fantastic season. They are fantastic people. They care. So when he was talking about the people, he was referring to the ownership at Leicester and the family around that. But I'm sure he was probably talking about the fans as well. He obviously had a good relationship with Leicester when he was there, but from what I hear, it was a bit of a sour ending. Obviously, Leicester very angry that Chelsea stole Enzo Maresca. They were due to go on pre-season to America. He said, "Don't do it. It's going to ruin our season." Next thing you know, he's gone to Chelsea to America. Talk about a smack in the face. But listen, nobody knew it was going to happen. And quite frankly, how can you blame a manager for taking far more money than he was at the Championship side? Still actually one of the lower earners that we've had at Chelsea. I mean, if you look at what Graham Potter was on, for example, compared to Maresca, I think Maresca's on about 4 million a year. Potter was on double that, if I'm not wrong. So I think it's actually a very fair contract from Maresca. He could have potentially demanded more because a top club like Chelsea is able to pay good money for managers. But he, not to say he's not taking a lot of money, he's still on millions, but he's on the lower end of those top managers at the moment. But forget the money. You've got the opportunity to work with arguably the best youngest team in Europe, with owners who are very happy to invest. We've got another £200 million, which is going to be invested into Cobham. I'll be doing a live on that tomorrow. We can dive into it. So join me for that. And yeah, I just think it's I don't see how you can criticize Enzo Maresca. I really don't see how you can do it. He did what anyone would have done, anyone with ambition. You can say what you want about Jamie Vardy never leaving Leicester. Fair play to him. And the guy won the Premier League. He won the FA Cup. He played in the Champions League. He did all of that with Leicester. But, you know, what about other clubs who are in a similar situation who never have that? There's always that temptation. What if I was at a top team? What could I do? And now we get to see what Maresca can do. He says, and I quote Enzo Maresca, "We can attack better. We can defend better. There are only 5 clubs who have conceded less. So in defending, we are probably doing quite well. We are going to concede goals until the end. I don't know why people are thinking that we defend badly." Interesting points. I mean, when we look at the defensive side of Chelsea at the moment, I mean, we can backtrack all through pre-season, to be honest with you. I think it's probably worth highlighting this, not in a negative way, just looking at what we're seeing. Now, I would class good defending as games where, you know, you concede 0 goals. Now, you might have a game where you defend very well and you only concede 1. That happens. That does happen. So, I mean, we conceded 2 against Wrexham, 4 against Celtic. We got a clean sheet against Club America. We conceded 4 against City, 2 against Madrid, 1 against Inter. And then we went on. This is pre-season, obviously. So you take that with a pinch of salt. Then we go on to the serious stuff in the Premier League, and we're thinking, okay, we've made all of our mistakes in pre-season. Now it's time to put things to the test. We concede 2 against Man City. Avoidable goals, by the way. These are avoidable goals against City. We get a clean sheet against Servette. Concede 2 against arguably the 2nd or 3rd worst team in the league, pound for pound, in terms of players. I think Gary O'Neill is actually doing a fantastic job at Wolves. I think he's very underappreciated. In my opinion, if Gary O'Neill gets sacked from Wolves, they're in big trouble. I think they've got to keep Gary O'Neill. He's going to keep Wolves up, in my opinion. So I stand by that. But still, they have poor players. You know, the fact is they play great football and they have poor players. So to concede 2 against them was poor as well. We conceded 2 against Servette. I mean, that was a shocking performance. Absolutely shocking. I was going to go to Switzerland with Matt for that game. I was due to go up in his van. We were going to drive up through however many countries to get to Switzerland. Not that many countries, but France and then Switzerland, I think. And then I got ill, basically. I got ill. I had a problem. And anyone who was watching that watch along, I was on it because Matt decided to then book a flight. So when I told Matt that I'd been checked out and I didn't have a big problem, he then says to me, "Alex, why couldn't you tell me earlier? I already booked the flight." And I went, "Oh, God." So, yeah, it was one of those situations. But it happens. But, yeah, we conceded 2. That was a really poor performance. We then conceded against Palace. That was a very good goal from Eze. But, again, I think these are all avoidable, these goals. These goals are avoidable. If we take control in games, small things make a big difference. But it was a good goal from Eze, so maybe I can't criticise too much. Clean sheet away at Bournemouth, very impressive, although we did concede a penalty, which was saved by Robert Sanchez. West Ham, very poor at the moment, very poor. Lopetegui, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's hard to win 3-0 away at West Ham, especially at that time at the beginning of the season. At this point, we get 3 clean sheets in a row, Bournemouth, West Ham and Barrow. We're cruising. We concede 2 silly goals from Brighton. I think we can say they were both because of Robert Sanchez. 2 more against Ghent, 1 against Forest, 2 against Liverpool. Another goal conceded against Panathinaikos. Another goal against Newcastle. 2-0, 1-1. 8-0. And by the way, in this 8-0, we actually defended so badly. We defended better in this game when we drew 1-1 than we did in this game. We could have easily conceded 2 goals against Noah. So don't kid yourself with that scoreline. And yeah, so ultimately, when I look at those fixtures, Now, maybe I might sound like a broken record here. I don't know. Maybe a lot of you say exactly the same thing, especially match-going fans. But I look at that and I think to myself, a lot of these goals are very avoidable. And I'm not putting it down to bad coaching. I'm not doing that at all. I'm putting it down to individual mistakes, the large majority. I mean, if we backtrack in time, the goal that we conceded against United was Fofana. Newcastle, we were poor defensively all over. The other Newcastle game, I can't really remember why that happened, to be fair. Liverpool, avoidable goals. Brighton, avoidable goals. There's goals in there that we could have avoided. There's a lot of goals. Sometimes you just have to take your hat off and say, fair enough. That was good. Is that such a bad thing to give credit to the opposition? I don't think it's a bad thing. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on our defensive situation. I do think that Maresca needs to understand that it's not good enough. But at the same time, would you rather have a better defensive team scoring less goals? So instead of winning 6-2 at Wolves, would you rather win 2-0? Would you rather scrape a 1-0 in a lot of other games where we might have been more comfortable, like Brighton, 1-0 instead of 4-2? Is that what you want as a fan? So those are the questions I have for you guys. I mean, I don't know. Some people say, well, I love the 1-0 because we're comfortable. We don't stress. But also 4-2 is very entertaining. And we were still comfortably winning that game. We just made stupid mistakes, We're on 18 likes, according to Daniel. Let's run up the likes. Coming up to 30 likes on YouTube. Big up to everyone watching on Twitter as well. We've got over 200 people on X. Reece James's IG story. Shall we have a look? What's Reece James put on his Instagram? Come on in, let's have it. Am I logged in? Oh God, come on, man. It wants me to log in. Where's my phone? What's he said? I'm going to look on my phone because it wants me to log in on my computer and I'm not logged in. Reece James. Let's have a look at he do. Right. Right. Okay. So basically this post says it's just got a bunch of pictures of Reece James, basically, just him and his sister and stuff like that. And it says, Reece James appreciation post, seeing as the rest of the internet want to jump at the chance to bring someone down. Nobody is more affected by injuries than the athlete themselves. Believe me, I don't want to be injured. I'm just happiest playing football, as said previously by Reece James. And then it follows on to say, players are human too. Showing love and bringing others up is the coolest thing you can do. So this was reposted 10 minutes ago by Reece James. So that's his indirect message to Chelsea fans. And I think it is a fair message. I don't have a problem with it. I think that, to be honest with you, big up to Reece James. Like, what he's done for our club when he has been fit, he's been nothing short of sensational. But there's two sides to this. There's an emotional side and a practical side. If I'm an owner, I'm not looking at this emotionally. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, so we're paying him all this money and he's never available. That's my problem. You've got Raheem Sterling, who was on more money than Reece James. He was playing every week, but he was crap. But I mean, at least he's available. Reece James is never available. Is that where and that's also never going to allow us to really upgrade that position on the right-hand side, because we've got Gusto there, who I like, by the way, although he's not suited to inverting. You've got Reece James there. So anyone that signs in the back of their head, they know they are never really the number one, because when Reece James comes back fit, he starts. So in terms of actually upgrading what we have in, on that right-hand side, we restrict ourselves with Reece James because other players won't want to join us. We also won't be able to pay as much because the money we're paying Reece James is taken away from other players. From a commercial point of view, who's going to buy a shirt from a player who's injured? How many Reece James shirts have they sold this season? I would love to know. As far as I'm aware, Enzo Fernandez is one of the highest shirt sellers for Chelsea at the moment. The man is selling shirts. He might not be balling out, but he's selling shirts. So I don't know, guys. There's multiple ways of looking at it. Commercially, doesn't make sense. In terms of the brand, maybe he is proper Chelsea and everything. Football-wise, it doesn't make any sense. Squad morale doesn't really make any sense. We're looking at leadership qualities. He's already been openly criticised by the manager. So that's my thoughts. But I haven't really made my mind up on Reece James. I haven't really made my mind up. That's my stance on it. Enzo Maresca also says, a target for the future is to have Cole Palmer and João Felix playing together. João Felix is doing fantastic with us since day one. The only problem is to find the balance. So if you've got Cole Palmer and João Felix, who do you drop? And where do you play them? Are we playing Felix on the left? Are we playing Felix in the middle? Are we playing Palmer in the middle? Or are we playing Palmer on the right? I don't think we're going to do a Pochettino and play him as a false nine. That's my opinion on that. Sorry, guys. Let me have a drink. So let's see what everyone's saying. Reece James' hamstrings made out of glass. Should we sell him because he's always injured? And we signed a new backup right back for Gusto. Big up, Alex. I'm not shocked Reece James is injured. He's injury prone. We should be norm to this. You think the ownership will look to have 3 right backs in the squad if Reece ever becomes fully fit? Carlito here. It's time to sell Reece James. Abraham. So I'm guessing you're a footballer as well. He says he's currently injured for the 2nd time in just a year. You're pretty young, so it's hard physically and mentally. So I feel bad for Reece. I can't imagine what he's going for. No, I agree with you. Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't feel for him and what he's going through. I'm sure the man just wants to play football. But my stance will never be from a footballer's perspective because I'm not a footballer. So I won't pretend to know what a footballer's going through. Also, a footballer is a small part of a big machine, unfortunately. Sounds very harsh to say that. But it's not about Reece James. It's about Chelsea. What is best for Chelsea? If you think him still being in the squad is the answer, that's fair enough. And if you think that he needs to leave, that's fair. I think both opinions are totally fair. Very fair opinions. In fact, I'll probably go around asking people this at Stamford Bridge. I'm going to make a video on this because it's one of the most divisive things at the moment at Chelsea. There's not a lot that divides us, I don't think. We had Enzo Fernandez, but everyone realised I was right. He's not that good if you compare him to Lavia in the midfield, although he does offer more creativity. I'll give you that. What else? Is Jackson good enough? I think he's proven he is. Should Nkunku play more? I mean, I'd say Reece James is probably the biggest divider. Everyone agrees that Sanchez isn't good enough. Yeah. Big up to Father. I hope you're doing very well, my friend. But yeah, what was I saying? So if we did have Palmer on the right, I wouldn't mind seeing Felix in the left then. But what the fuck? What about Nkunku, man? What the hell are we talking about Felix for? It's ridiculous. Get Nkunku stuck in there. Why can't you have Nkunku? Why's it got to be Felix all the time? Yeah, but Felix deserves it. What? And Nkunku doesn't? Come on, guys. This is water, not vodka. What are you drinking? Anyway. Enzo Maresca also said, the ones that are going to play against Leicester are not going to be 100% because they are human beings. Hopefully, we can find the right balance. Fair enough. I don't really think I need to comment too much on that. He also said, to be honest, we played Arsenal. I left for 1 week, so I don't know the conversations between the club and England about Colwell and Palmer's withdrawals. Some of them are better. Some we will test today. Overall, they are much better. Right, so you're talking about international break and players getting injured. Everyone knows my stance on this. I think it's a load of bollocks, international break that we have. I think it's a load of rubbish. And I think, to be quite frank, how they can do this to footballers. You want to talk about footballers' perspective. Talk about Reece James, a player who's, all right, fine. He wants to be on the pitch. What about players who are forced to play too much? That's not good for their body. You'll have more cases like Reece James if you keep up what we're doing in terms of the international circuit. We've created all these new competitions. We've beefed up the Champions League and the Europa League. We're lucky that the Conference League isn't the same because we would be playing 2 extra games if it was. Imagine fitting that into the congestion. And then actually you have an argument for being knocked out as early as we did in the Carabao Cup, as much as it's not something that I agreed with. And I thought, to be honest, I thought it was an absolute disgrace how we played in Newcastle. But now we haven't got to worry about the Carabao Cup in terms of congestion, right? We can focus on the other competitions. Not to mention the Club World Cup in the summer. I mean, bloody hell, guys, we've got a lot of stuff going on at the moment. So I do think player welfare. I'm in total agreement with the players with regards to congestion. This shouldn't be something that club football has to suffer from. I think this should be international football that needs to be broken down a little bit. Why do you spread the Nations League over the course of a season? Why do you have so many small breaks? Can't we just have, like, every summer, if it's going to be like this, every summer, can we not just have a designated period where international football is going to take place? Why can't the Nations League be a competition that happens every 4 years? Why does it have to happen every year? What's the point? Who cares? Or if it's every year, why can't it be every 2 years? I just think, for me, it's just too much. Like, I don't agree with the Nations League. I went to the first ever Nations League matches for England. I was in Portugal when we played. Who did we play? We played the Netherlands and we lost. And then we played Switzerland and we won. So we finished third in the first ever Nations League. We went to the final where Portugal took on Holland. There was a corner full of people from the Netherlands, a corner full of English fans that thought we were going to get to the final, so we'd already paid for tickets. And then the rest was Portuguese. And don't get me wrong, like, it's nice to win a trophy for your country. Who asks if you ever won the Nations League? Does anyone care about that? They don't care. World Cup, Euros, that's it. Or club, or Copa America, or Africa Cup of Nations. You know what I mean, if you're not from Europe. So when asked about Reece James's injury, he said, I know it's not easy, but if every time James gets an injury, it becomes harder for him, it's, for me, even worse. He has to accept and try to avoid as much as he can. Sometimes things can happen even if you want to avoid. Hopefully he can be available for the next one. So by saying that, Maresca's making it quite clear that, the injury is not life-changing here, guys. And when we say the next one, I mean, is the next one going to be on the 28th against Heidenheim? Or is it going to be on Sunday the 1st against Aston Villa? So is it going to be a couple of days out or just over a week out? So it'd be interesting to see what the situation is in that sense. But yeah, listen, again, big up to Reece James, like we've spoken about him. It was a couple of days ago that he started to feel some pain. And yeah, I mean, that's ultimately you're training as hard as you can as a footballer. You're pushing your body to the limit. Now, if he wasn't taking his recovery seriously, and not everybody's like Thiago Silva, who, if you haven't seen some of the videos of Thiago Silva and his recovery, it's incredible. No wonder he's able to have such a nice long career with so much success as well, even at the latter stages. Most players some players are just unlucky. Maybe Reece James is that guy. Who knows? Enzo Maresca also said everyone at City, they knew how good Cole Palmer is. The only problem is that having so many players there, it's difficult to give all of the minutes. So no one at City thought that Cole was not good enough. No doubt. Well, they certainly know now. And Cole Palmer, I tell you what, you put a price on that man's head. 35 million? No chance. Give me 135. Give me 235 million. That's where I see Cole Palmer at the moment. Not one of the best at Chelsea, not just one of the best in the Premier League, one of the best in world football. And that is what we like to see, guys. But listen, that is my update for today. I'm going to be going live tomorrow twice. Run up the likes, people. I'm sorry I've been away. I'm sorry. In fact, the channel should have been more active. You know, I try to disconnect from football when England are playing, because that's the only break I get. And I love doing this, but also I've got a life as well. So I try and put it all together. But listen, people, 100 miles an hour now, 200 miles an hour. We will be back. We will be stronger than ever. And we will be following Chelsea on Saturday away at Leicester. Join me tomorrow for the preview. I will be on there myself. I will do a video on my own. I will also have a panel show with a couple of members to talk all things Chelsea. But listen, guys, as always, it's an absolute pleasure. And we will catch up very, very soon. Up the Chelsea. And I will see you tomorrow.